We will be incorporating into the agenda of these meetings to have more clarity on what managed care is going to be like and how we're going to roll into it. So that should be coming shortly. Managed care itself, you know, we had also talked about that starting July 1st, and that's not cast in stone right now. And I think part of that might be because of our new commissioner coming on board and him looking at the applications. So we're not 100% sure of the exact rollout date, but you know, I believe, going to try to keep it as close to our schedule as possible, but it's not cast in stone for July 1st. And one of the other things that I can tell you in terms of the CPL, we will, at OPWDD, will maintain a role in that, and we will be regulators of that entity. Okay? Any questions?
So it's going to be tough to do it in 5 minutes, but first of all, the 30-day amendments should have come out and been available to us yesterday. And I heard that they did come out, and they've been delivered to the legislature. They're not available to us. So I placed a call, and my plan was, if I had a little more time to present, I was going to say, guys, do you mind if I take the phone call? I'll get the dirt and tell you immediately, but I'm not going to do that now that I only have 5 minutes, so I'll let you know
for a little more.
So if the phone rings, I'm going to answer, and I'll find out if there's any cuts for us in the 30-day amendments, because there was a big announcement. You know, the governor came out with his budget. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what's in it and what's not in it, and what our positions are going to be based on that. But then there was a $2.3 billion additional shortfall because of tax receipts being lower than expected for various reasons, and some people think it's a negotiating tactic, and other people think it's truly a shortfall, and I don't really know. But what we do know is the 30-day amendments will almost certainly contain cuts to accommodate that new additional shortfall, and mental hygiene was listed as one of the agencies that they thought, or one of the areas. Also aid to localities. So it's no big surprise, but it's probably going to be a little worse than we thought. And it'll be good for us to know so that it could be part of this conversation. So I will take the phone call if it helps. Let me make sure my phone's not on the side. So, in the OPWDD governor's budget, we got some of what we've been getting every year for the last few years, which we're not ungrateful for. So one of the things is the $120 million for all new services, which actually translates to $30 million in cash in this budget year, because it's $120 million fully annualized, so that's all for all 12 months, and all shares, which is, you know, federal and state shares of 50% each. So it's really $30 million. And that goes for every single kind of new development, including residential, day, you name it. And that's what we've been getting over the past bunch of years. And I have to qualify this by saying that based on various, I'm not even sure what kinds of things come up that make it impossible to spend the whole $120 million. So while we are looking at $120 million fully annualized all shares, it hasn't been $120 million in money infused into our system over the last bunch of years. It's been something less. Nevertheless, the appropriation, which is the authority to spend, is a new 120. We're going to ask for 20 million of that to be set aside for families who have people living at home with complex needs, who really need residential. We got another $15 million in capital funds to develop housing, and we are going to be asking for another $15 million. So we want 30 altogether. 15 is great, but every single year it's spoken for before it even becomes available. So we definitely need more than that. And that's part of a giant $2 billion pool of money, which is for affordable housing for various populations across the state. And so we just want a little bit more of that to go under OPWDD. One thing that's not in the budget is the COLA. So this year, the statute directs a human services COLA to be included in the budget every single year. And then if we don't get it, it's because it was deferred. And for the past 8 years, or pretty much, it has been deferred, which means that we'll get it next year. It's based on the CPI, so it's the cost of the Consumer Price Index, and this year that's 2.9. The savings for deferring it is $140 million, and our position, along with all human services across the state, is that we really need that increase, both for staff salaries and other rising costs of doing business. The other thing that's not in the budget, and we were a little bit disappointed again, because we had heard some discussion that DOB was, that's the Division of Budget, was making some sort of plans to look at some sort of increase, and that's for our Be Fair to Direct Care campaign. So we devised a 6-installment living wage campaign for DSPs and other low-wage staff. We got the first 2 installments 2 years ago, which was great. So we got 2 years of it in 2017. We got nothing last year, but we did get the first 2 years in 2017. And this year we're asking for the third and fourth installments of the 6-year plan. So we would like a full year of funding to begin on April 1st, and then a quarter year of additional funding, which would take us into next year on January 1st, 2020. Those were not included in the budget, and the cost of that is approximately $75 million for OPWP. I'm sorry, whose office is this? Oh, Reyes. Can I call you back in about an hour? So we're asking for $140 million along with all human services for COLA. We're asking for $75 million for the Be Fair to Direct Care next 2 installments. We're asking $30 million, but actually 15 additional for affordable housing just for us OPWDD people. And we want $20 million of the $120 to be set aside, which is an easy lift because there's no additional money. Any questions on the OPWDD, what's in the budget, what's not, and what we're asking for? And when I say we, hang on to that thought. I just want to add that when I say we, I mean the Coalition of Provider Associations and the Interagency Council, which is where I work, is one of the associations that's a member of COPA. The other members are the Alliance of Long Island Agencies, the New York Emerging and Multicultural Programs, CP, Associations of New York State, and DOANI, which is Western New York, Developmental Disabilities Alliance of Western New York. They're kind of famous, right? They have a great family group. Now, question.
Yeah, my question is, they're doing rezonings on Staten Island, in part to make developers have money, but in theory, there's also going to be an affordable housing component. Is there any kind of MOU, memorandum of understanding between the city and state on this? Because I brought it up to the community board, you're like,
well, so I don't know what the particular deal is with your affordable housing, but I do know that when...
It's the city, and it's private development. And
I really missed the Staten Island thing, yeah. Usually, an agency will partner with a developer when they are just, in the planning stages of new affordable housing, to give some money, this would come from that $15 million fund, to cover the cost of some of the development, and then there would be a set aside for people who would be placed by that agency.
This would be a potential income stream for the developers. Everything is monetized, so I'm really trying to figure out.
You're absolutely right. We would pay for part of that development, and then some of it would be set aside for us. So that's still a possibility. That's fine. And I'm not an expert in these areas, but if you have questions, I'll get them answered. Okay, great. Anything else for OPWDD? Okay.
So just outlining tons of money that we're asking for. What's the likelihood of anybody paying attention to us this year?
Well, so the Be Fair to Direct Care campaign is fairly famous. We have lots and lots of good press. We have rallies all over the place. We had one in Times Square yesterday, which thank you for coming to. And there's a billboard in Times Square that was graciously donated 3 years in a row by the woman who's a board member of one of our members, and this year they chose a picture that I'm in. So it's me and Tony Phillips. And he couldn't make it yesterday, unfortunately. I was really looking forward to a picture of him and me in front of the big picture of him and me, but we did not get that. Anyway, so we have a billboard, for God's sake. So the governor knows it, the legislature knows it. My friends say, I was passing through Times Square and I saw you there. So Be Fair to Direct Care is everywhere. So they know about it. and we should be able to work out something. I think the problem is that if we don't get what we need, then the minimum wage will still swallow us up as it goes up. Of course, in New York City, we're already there.
Winnie, there was some very powerful testimony at the joint budget and finance. Any feedback afterwards from the members who listened? I mean, it was really incredible examples of how the squeeze is affecting quality of life. And everyone seems to be, in the sky on this or what? They're going to own the problems that might arise and are very serious.
Yes. So thank you for bringing that up, because that was another exhilarating experience for me. People presented great testimony at our mental hygiene budget hearing in Albany a couple weeks ago. And I think we have friends in the legislature, we just do. And I need to tell you that every commissioner who got up and spoke, and before any of us advocates got up and stated our positions, every legislator who opened his or her mouth said, what about COLA and be fair to direct care? They were all on it before we were, which was pretty amazing. So I think they heard us. They're definitely behind us. The realities of the budget are going to be our problem. And on a side note, COPA has developed this PAC. So we're actually, we're not giving great big money, but we're giving a little bits of money to people, but it's allowing us a little, into another part of the political game, so that I'm hoping, like we were 2 years ago, we were in the final negotiations. We were one of the most important priorities in Albany. So we're hoping to be there again. I don't know what's going to happen. And the other thing is they were mixing up COLA and Be Fair, which is actually probably okay, but we haven't decided exactly how, we'll respond to new information, including the 30-day cuts if there are any, in ways that I can't predict right this second.
We've had great social media efforts, and I'm sure there are a lot of people here who would like to help. What's a really quick way that we can open our phones and we can support the effort just by sitting here and just taking a moment of our time?
Thanks, Simon. That's great. So there is a Facebook account which is @Be Fair to Direct Care, and there's also a website that is befairtodirectcare.com. And through those two sources, if you went to if you like the Facebook page, then our stuff will come up in your stream, and you'll just be able to repost it, share it, whatever, and that increases the reach, and that's a great thing. So thank you. And Twitter is #BeFair2DirectCare.
Admittedly, I'm like the laziest person in the entire world.
But
I just
retweeting
find your
is
posts
easy.
and I retweet them.
I
Because
can
it's
only
just
manage
really
retweets.
easy. Yeah, I retweet. I saw Laura Kennedy and I retweet her because I just stalk the people who are really
But we depend on that.
I'm lazy. I just retweet stuff and like it and retweet and like it and put @Governor Cuomo, @Governor Cuomo, @Governor Cuomo.
@NYGOV Cuomo.
NYGOV Cuomo.
But it'll come up. You can look him up on Twitter.
It's so easy. It takes like 2 seconds, which is about the only bit of time we have. We're busy people, and you can do it while you're sitting there. You can take up your phone.
And we also have sign-on letters going around in each house, which is actually due today in the Senate, unfortunately. But we're getting all the senators, both parties, to sign on to our chair's letter, who was Senator Carlucci, to the majority leader, Andrew Stewart Cousins, another big fan of ours. I mean, we really have good friends. And I was a little bit worried because there's so many super important things. I don't know which side of the fence people in this room are sitting on, but there were a lot of old issues that have been suppressed in the legislature that are flying through really fast. That's the really big ones seem to have been done already. So I think now there's time to focus on us. I was afraid that we would be drowned out by Child Victims Act and gun stuff and whatever else is going on. But it feels like that stuff has been pretty much taken care of, so we can get ears to listen to us. Thank you for that. Anything else on OPW? Okay, I'll quickly fly through the school stuff. There really isn't ever anything in the school area in the budget for us because our increases are given In another way, on actually April 15th, SED submits a letter to DOB requesting tuition increases for us. So we didn't expect too much, but we've been saying that our teacher crisis, our teacher shortage crisis, is as bad or worse than our DSP shortage crisis. So we are starting to get some traction on that. And we have 2 new chairs, both in the Senate and in the Assembly, and these guys, Assemblyman Benedetto in the Assembly is, and special ed is his background. I mean, he's a friend, and he really, really knows us and cares about us. And then Senator Shelley Mayer also knows what we do, absolutely supports it. So we're going to have a letter writing campaign that you'll hear about very shortly. So I'm going to put it together when I get back to the office to Shelley Mayer, Mike Benedetto, and always the governor. The governor is our target no matter what we're doing because he's the one who would approve and who would agree to a deal. I really do feel like the legislature's with us. So we're asking for an additional $15 million for teacher recruitment and retention. The fund right now has grown to $8 million. The Regents is requesting an additional 4, but even 15 is really not enough. So we are expecting other advocates in Albany to be asking for the Regents request, which is $4 million. But we're asking for 15. So it sounds like not enough, but it's a lot more than we can get anybody to ask for with us. So anyway, we're out there. So that's one thing, and then we want our increases to be comparable to school aid increases. The Board of Regents asked for like a $2.1 billion increase in school aid. The governor has only given $956 million. Still, that's a 3.6% increase over last year. So currently, if the 956 goes through, and there may be a cut there with this 30-day amendment thing, but they get 3.6, we want 3.6 for both 4410s and 853 schools. So there's other things that are standing in the way that we're going to advocate for, but those are our 2 biggies for education. Any other thoughts or questions there? Outside of the budget, there was a proposal to really change, or I should say, eliminate ECDCs, and the advocacy response to that was huge. Thank you to anyone in this room, they heard you. And they put out a new proposal, which I think is still pretty inadequate.
Yes.
But I need to speak with Chris Trieber in my office, who knows a lot more about that stuff than I do, but so I don't know exactly what stage of advocacy we're in there, but that's not a budget issue, even though it's a really important issue to us. Any questions about education, thoughts, or yes?
Oh, sorry, I was wondering also about CDCAP.
Oh, yeah, so I didn't get there yet. Okay. All right, so under the Department of Health, based on information that the state, or I should say data, that the state received, the governor has, or Department of Health has decided to increase early intervention therapies, PTO to speech, by 5%. So the rates for those services are proposed to be increased by 5%. That's approximately 60% of early intervention services. So the other 40% would receive no increase. For a lot of reasons, that's unacceptable, and we're asking for a 5% increase across the board. But look how important data is. I mean, it always is. Well, every year the governor proposes to eliminate the spousal parental refusal and the prescriber prevails, and we're opposing both of those usually. I mean, every year so far they've been restored, and we're hoping that that happens again. The consumer-directed personal assistance program changes. This would drastically reduce the number of fiscal intermediaries for CDPAP, which is not self-direction, and there was a lot of confusion about that at the budget hearing, but luckily Roger Bearden was really good and clear that there will be no changes to self-direction, that this is the program that's changing, bad enough. I'm not saying that this is a good thing. So they're going to drastically reduce the number of fiscal intermediaries and also change the payment to the fiscal intermediaries to a per member per month, kind of based on a fixed cost. So there's a certain cost to doing payroll and stuff like that, and they feel that that's measurable and it should be just a fee rather than something that would be variable depending on the amount of time spent with somebody. And anybody who uses this program knows that makes no sense. So we're quite concerned that people who depend just to live in the community and live their lives on the CDPAP program are going to end up without those services, and that will be an additional burden on OPWD. So it's not something that we feel OPWD should be saying that's the Department of Health's business and we really, don't have a role there. We would like to see OPWD work with the Department of Health so that they can see how damaging to those of us who use CDPAP those changes would be. And then I also heard some concern yesterday that some people felt like if they did it to CDPAP next to self-direction, and I have no opinion on that. We've been assured that there would be no changes there. So. Did I answer the question about CDPAP or did I not? Okay. And the other things are sort of incidental. Depending on who you are, they're more important, but we have many other positions that will be in our COPA white paper, and but I've given you the most important ones.
The treasurer's report, we have $8,525 in the treasury. Adult services.
Good morning. We met on January 8th, and we had several speakers from Transition and College Access Center, which is a new drive by the DOE. They're working on every single borough, and they are trying to connect with the children and the staff and the families of those transitioning from the DOE to adult life. Our next meeting will be on March 26th. And it is at IBR at 10:30 in the morning, and then we'll have one more meeting after that, which will be May 21st. And we're going to start talking about our events for next year in the fall.
Good morning. Advocacy is working on our community breakfast, which is scheduled for March 1st. By now, everybody here should have received their invitations. If not, there's flyer in the back of the information. We've already started getting a very, very good response, and it's indicative of the time and how important it is that we gather together and listen to the priorities and the concerns that we have, and as parents, the fears that we have. So if you can join us, please do so. We have our speakers lined up. We have Chris Treber will be doing the education component. We have two parents, as Lee mentioned, regarding ECDC. Even though it has not been finalized yet, or it's still in the process of discussions, etc., we feel it's an important topic to be addressed at the breakfast. And so we will have a parent of a child now going through the system and the guidance and the resources that ECDC provides, and then we'll have a parent who has a child who's older, who benefited, and how the path that ECDC set them on enhanced their child's life as well as the family. So that's part of it. We will also have a direct care speaker who will address the fair and also incorporate in that presentation the residential component and the lack thereof. That is a big concern. So we feel that though, as a direct care person, who works in a residential...
They know how important it is to provide a home to somebody. And when we hope to have one of the residents, people know.
Yeah, so that's pretty much our topic now. Barbara's gathering information for the paper that we present, the position paper. And we also are planning the legislative information exchange. We have 3 new legislators on Staten Island. We want to inform them and educate them as to who the council is, what we do, what advocacy is, what concerns we have are, and we we feel it's important. All other legislators are invited as well, but, we want to focus on the 3 new individuals that we find that's important. And our next meeting is scheduled for February 22nd, and I think that's it, at 11:30. Okay, I think that's it. I hope everyone comes to the breakfast. As I said, we have a great response right now, but typically we get about 400 people to attend, and if you were there last year, we had that horrible weather, and, many phone calls the night before, are you going to cancel? And we didn't, and we had a full house, so it really is, as I said before, it's indicative of the times and how important everything is and the topics are. So please do join us. And just as a side note, regarding the Twitter, the Facebook, and getting involved in sending out those messages, I think it's important that agencies pass that information on to your families, councils pass it on to their membership, so they do see that we are cohesive in saying one message. And there's strength in numbers, as we say many times, but it's very important to not just sit back and think somebody else is going to do it, because we all need to do it because it impacts all of us. So, I'm not on Twitter, I'm not on Facebook, but my daughter is, so she could do it. So I think that it's important that we just do that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Iris?
I just do want to note something, because I know it came up with IAC and also just came up with advocacy. The situation that the Early Childhood Direction Centers are going through, it's not exactly the same. Our situation was not cut by a year short of a contract. There's a special education parent center in each of the 5 boroughs. There are 14 throughout New York State. People sometimes forget to mention that we are subject to the same changes and the exact same RFP that the ECPCs are. We are facing the same challenges. So please put that into your notes and your talking points as well when you go forward.
Your benefit meeting next Tuesday, January 29th, in this room. We have representatives from the Family Service Department. We had Paul Reed speak about the process for receiving diapers and medical supplies for Medicaid. And we had representatives from Arch Care talking about the new housing project at St. Teresa's for individuals who love them. I haven't set a date for the next meeting, but I'm hoping for March, and I'm going to talk to a couple people to present. So.
We met January 18th. We completed our vendor membership drive. We discussed strategies to train the new information outreach coordinators. We're going to start developing a manual for the next information outreach coordinator, who will be starting in March. Our next project we'll be working on with is going to be with CSI Media Department to create an outreach video. We currently have 138 members. We want that number to start growing to need all of your help. So get out, spread the word, try to bring someone with you to the next meeting. It will have like extra refreshments for you. So bring somebody with you, and just so we can start really we're hearing about all these issues that are out there. We need more people involved in Staten Island. There's a lot of people on Staten Island that really can benefit from the information that we give here. So please spread the word and bring a friend with you. Our meetings always follow the general council meeting, so if you're interested in join us today. We're located at the conference room on the way out. Thank you.
Education.
The Education Committee will be meeting on March 5th, Tuesday, at IDR in the meeting room. We've been focusing for several years, I've mentioned at these meetings, on inclusive practices in our schools, and in light of the Department of Ed accommodating children in their home zone school more frequently, there's a feeling that we need to have a school for all children and really start to break down some still existing barriers between PTAs, and particularly with co-located schools where District 75 might be in the building of a District 31 and so forth. And progress is being made. Mary Alice Begley and I co-chaired the Ed Committee. We were invited to present January 29th to the meeting of the school-wide parent coordinators.
and we were very well received. We had a half hour to extend everything, including the Disability History Museum in Buffalo, where if you go on that website, you see very well-prepared curriculum for teachers, for staff, on understanding disabilities and really diffusing myths about them and helping our typical children and their parents understand the value and self-growth and life if they really understand what it means to have a disability and to assist them. So it was, they got the message in terms of reaching out, whether you're the school crossing guard or the school security guard or you work in the lunchroom, that everyone should be treated with respect and dignity in our schools. And we're getting there, but that's where we're at with them. Tuesday, March 5th.
Family Resource Transition Fair?
We are on hold right now, Irene and I. Myself, Gail Decker, and Diane Ferrugia, we're the co-chairs, and we're a committee for families and caregivers of individuals living at home and self-advocates can come to our meeting. We met Wednesday here in the conference room. We always have a statewide rep from OPOUD rep at our meetings to ask questions and to give some guidance to families. Kathy Nowak is our statewide rep, and she reported that she would be one of 5 statewide reps that were part of training from DQI, Department of Quality Improvement, thank you, Linda, to assist with oversight of our respite and support programs. Other topics we covered were Twitter campaign, hashtag our kids are your kids. Our family reimbursement program, care coordination organization. Janet spoke at our prior meeting, so we're very happy about that. In lieu of our March meeting, we are asking our committee members to join us at the advocacy breakfast, which we feel is very important. Our final 3 meetings will be April 11th here at 9:30, May 13th at 7:30. We have an evening meeting every other month at 2535 Bartlett Hill Road. And our last meeting we always have at the Harvest Cafe on June 14th at 9:30 in the morning. Families are welcome to come and join us. We have a lot of information. Thank you.
Thank you. Health and Clinical Services?
Hi, everyone. I just want to say that we're still trying to get responses from the survey that was sent out, Survey Monkey, and we've only gotten 15 responses. We sent in first to parents and caregivers. The survey is regarding, in case you haven't seen it, it's regarding clinical services that you receive for your child, whether small child or an adult. We want to know who in the medical and clinical field are people for us to bring our kids to. And I know it's very important, and I'm not sure why only 15 people had to. It's a very short survey. Can anybody here tell me if they saw the survey and they're not taking? Why are
I have heard a couple of parents say to me that they did not, for whatever reason, they did not want to fill it out because they felt they had to give some of their personal information and they didn't want that done. For better or for worse, that's what I heard.
It was optional. It was not a required field.
So it was not a required field, and
That's
if
the
you see these people, if you
So-
see them, tell them they don't.
Lorraine, maybe when we send it out again, when we caption above it, we can tell people that it is an option. They do not have to give their personal information. Please share the rest of it. And as it indicates that. It indicates that. It indicates that it's optional. I was one of the first that took that for sure. I was like one of the 6, when you said 6 people filled it out, I was one of the 6. So, it's
Those of
optional.
you who have filled it out, you're going to live more than seriously, please, our best agents, please send it out again with the, so we're getting that personal information is optional, we just want to know what you're having. Thank you. And we meet the third Wednesday
I'm Cal, co-chair Jason Harr from Eigenmark Residential Directors. My co-chair, we met on January 25th. In our effort to inform parents about how residences work, we had a presentation about nursing, regulations, policies, procedures, qualifications, that sort of thing. And it was informative. This next week, February 22nd, whatever
Yes.
that date is, a week from today, Friday, we'll meet in room 7 down the hall at 9:30 in the morning. And anybody with young people in residences is invited, any workers from residences are invited. Jason has a long list of topics that we developed at the beginning of the year. He will pick something depending on who's available to come talk to us. And we have to start our planning. Our residential direct service professional awards will be given in June this year. So we'll start planning for that. Because June is 4 months away, it's a while. But we'll talk about that.
Self-directed supports, I know that they're having a job fair here on February 27th at 10 a.m. I believe. Willowbrook Property Planning, Eric?
Good morning, everyone. The stations are going to be done hopefully by the fall of 2019, which is September, and hopefully we will have a grand opening for that. We did have a steering committee meeting this past Tuesday, and they went over the stuff that will be at the mile, and there was a meeting, I believe this coming Tuesday. I'll get back to everyone on that. And so that's basically all there is, basically. And hopefully, like I said, it comes to fruition in September, and we have a big grand opening. We're also having a Willowbrook lecture series. I believe it's the day of Willowbrook Remembrance Day, so it coincides with that as well. And that's basically it.
Thank you.
Another date?
For what? Remembrance Day, I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
Eric, isn't Diane also meeting next Tuesday?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an open committee. The one on Tuesday I forgot to mention is at Cedar Grove Road, and it's open to everyone. That is 10:30. 10:30.
Scott, Harvey, and I will be early at the breakfast to corral people who dare to not be members. They were there already, and we will tie them up in knots. He'll figure out a way to get them to pay.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Julia. Happy Friday, everybody. I know it's a long weekend. My last name is Shapovalova. I know it's a mouthful, but it will be on the presentation, so you don't have to remember it for now. I'm here, I represent the QI department, and I'm here with Sandra Moody, who is the head of the department, and I will be talking about HRC's journey to person-centered excellence. So we'll be talking about CQL and our partnership with them. We're going to be talking about POMS and supporting choices, and I will also introduce our new apprenticeship program. So since I'm a part of quality improvement, we first have to define quality. So how would you define the quality in your life? Not everybody at once. How would you say that sleep? Exactly. So rest, health, right? How else? Yes.
Being able to control your environment and what you're doing in it.
Exactly. So being able to control and make choices on your daily basis, right? Some people mention their family. Some people mention career and how important it is to them. For some people, it's education. And if you think about it, for all of us, it will be different. Even though we're all here in this room and we have similar interests and common interests, we all have different things that are very important to all of us. And the same thing will be for the people that we support. It would be also different 5 years from now. And and I'm sure it was different 5 years ago for each and one of you. So this is exactly where CQL comes in, because CQL as an outside organization helps us to measure quality, define quality of life for people that we support. So CQL, or Council on Quality and Leadership, was, our partnership was then begun in 2012, and we got our first accreditation in 2014. They're an outside entity, they're non-for-profit, and they partner with organizations like us, like HRC, and help us to provide the best services for the vulnerable population, like people with disabilities or people with mental health issues, people with substance abuse, so people who might not always be able to advocate for themselves. They were founded as an advocacy organization that came out of the way people with disabilities were treated. So they stepped in and said we're going to set guidelines and kind of rules and help organizations that support people to make their lives better. Their goal is the person-directed services, so people are in a driver's seat. They tell us how to better provide services for them and also improve the quality of their life. So how do we do that? We have such thing as 3 pillars of CQL, and they're shared values, basic assurances, and personal outcome measures. And we're going to go over each and one of them. So shared values are expectations and beliefs that we have about people from what we know about them. They shape the way we treat people and how much we respect them. And as an organization, it shapes also how we provide services based on the things we know about people. Sometimes they can be prejudiced for some of us. So if we know the diagnosis, sometimes we might think that, oh, there are certain things that people cannot do. So we try to move away from them, from that idea. And shared values really would spread through all the aspects of a person's life. So it would be around people, and whether we think that they deserve to be treated with dignity and respect, whether they are able to exercise their basic rights or their legal rights. Whether they're given a choice to make choices every day. In the community, how people are integrated in the community, how are they a part of social capital? Do they know some of the people in their neighborhood? Do they know their neighbors literally is in their building? Would somebody be interested if they're missing or they haven't seen them for a few days? And as an organization, it also makes us to work towards how we evolve, how we change our language around people that we support. The other part, very big aspect of CQL is basic assurances. And they're kind of like a checks and balances, and they review the systems and practices of each organization that provides services for people we support. They create policies and procedures. They shape mission statements. They get people involved in a variety of positions in all the tiers of the organization. So we might create a new committee that has people supported and that has staff and that has senior leadership, and all of them will come together and decide where our organization goes forward and what direction it is. So people that we provide services for and people who work for us shape the future of our organization. A very big part of CQL and kind of their ideology are calm conversations. That's how we gather the most information about people we support. Their calm conversations or calm personal outcome measures is a tool that we use to find out as much as we can about the person supported, so we can create the best environment, the best quality of life for them. We learn about people's dreams, wishes, and goals. They cover all the areas of people's lives. So they're very detailed. They go into things like where do you live and would you like to live somewhere else, creating more opportunities for people. See where we as an organization might be lacking, where would we know, is there something that we didn't know about now. The information, gather the information, and then it would go in life plans and would be discussed during planning meetings. We usually try to conduct them right before the annual planning meeting, so whatever information we gathered, we can apply and discuss and find many more opportunities for people to explore. So the outcomes go through every single aspect of people's life. They're very detailed. There's a certain way to hold the conversation, and there's many questions that you go through, very detailed, that goes through all aspects of people's life. The outcomes are usually defined only by the person. So we as an interviewers cannot assume or cannot kind of dictate or project our ideas of how the services should be provided. The person supported tells us how to provide services for them and what is it that they want from us as an organization to support them. They're usually broken into 5 factors, and it's my human security, my community, my relationships, my choices, and my goals. The questions might be, are you safe? Do you have friends? And would you like to have more friends? Are you happy with your friend relationship you have with your friends? Are you happy with your natural supports? How much time you spend with your family? Maybe we can help you to spend more time with your family. Do you choose your personal goals, or did organization choose personal goals for you? So how do we become a contributor? How do we start this conversation? So we partnered up with CQL, and they provide a 4-day training on how to hold the conversation. There are several trained HRC employees. I think we have about 150 right now. And they go to different sites. Some of them work in residential, some of them work at day programs, at EBS. Every single part of HRC basically has common contributors right now. And after a 4-day training, they're taught how to hold the conversation, how to score it from a perspective of the person supported and from the perspective of the organization. And all these questions kind of help us to create something that's called a POM letter. And that would be a short summary of what the person wants to work on going forward. So right now, a person is kind of like in a drive seat and telling us how to create the goals for them. We also use all this information collected in our database. So the information that we gather from all of these collective POM interviews, because every person gets their POM interview done about once or twice a year, depending on how available they are and whether they want to have a POM conversation or not. The information that we derive from this help us to see what people want in general and help us create new initiatives and new opportunities, new exposure for people supported. New opportunities for them to socialize. So for example, one of the biggest requests that comes up all the time is that I would like to have more friends. So we as an organization created evening dances where people can come in and meet each other and socialize in more natural settings. Some people said that they would like to get a job. It's huge. I mean, aren't we all proud about having a job and being able to have a career? So people that we support is exactly the same. And we try to create as many opportunities as we can for them. So I actually have a couple of videos. I hope they will work. We had a little bit of technical difficulties, and we can talk a little bit more about the videos.
Number 17, choose personal goal.
So one of the aspects is choosing personal goals, and the conversation we're going to see focuses specifically on that aspect and on that outcome.
Brent stated a few goals he would like to work on. They include going to Radio City Music Hall, learning to tie a tie, and choosing his own clothes. This outcome is not met because staff currently chooses his clothing, and he's not working on the goals of his choice.
Well, to express myself, that's a main goal. And you know what? Helps with laundry, sweat laundry. The staff pick them, management pick them. So, what do you mean by goals? Green goals. They call them services. So you're saying that management pick the goals to express yourself? Yes. Yes. So that's what your goals. And don't think about it as your plan, your ISP. But what do you want to do with your life? What do you want for your future? I would like to go to Radio City Music Hall and see about cats. That's a learn to do. How about how to tie it? You want to learn to tie it? Yes. Has anyone tried jumping before? They tried it once. Yes. Pick on your own clothes. How does that work? You have to match your own clothes, right? I'm sorry, how does it work for you? The still fits it out. But they have to match. Who said that? They have to match. They have to match. Would you like to pick out your own clothes? But I can't see color. But you could ask for help. Yeah. Yes. So how does it work in the morning when it's time to wake up and get dressed? How does picking out clothes happen for you? The staff do. They do the night before. So the night before? The night before. So tell me a bit more. So the night before, staff come in and they pick out. Yes. They pick out your clothes for the night. Yes. The next day, that's how it works. If you were picking out your own clothes, would you like to do it the night before or the morning of? No, the night before is better. Okay, why is it better? Because you're not going to rush. So you have to plan things ahead of time? Ahead of time.
Number 18, realize personal goals. Rose clear.
All right, so as you can see, I know sound might not be really great, I'm sorry about it, but there are subtitles. So this video shows great example of how people we support sometimes conditioned to think of their personal goals as their ISP or as whatever goals are on their life plan. And we try to move away from that. So the first thing Fred mentions is doing the laundry. And whose life dream is it doing the laundry? I hate doing laundry. I know some people told me before that it's therapeutic, but it cannot possibly be the only life goal in your life, right? right? So with these conversations, we're trying to dig deeper and find out what is it that people really are interested in. And Fred looks amazing. He looks so dapper, and staff takes care of them well, and we're not trying to kind of knock the staff down, saying that they didn't know that he wanted to go to see their cats, because we as service providers are trying to do the best for the people that we support. They keep him safe, and he's always looks great, but it's just taking it to the little further, taking it to the next level to create better quality in his life. So for him to tie a tie was very important. And you see how the interviewer gave him time to complete what he was trying to say. So we're not right there trying to feed the answers to the person's supporters. We're waiting for them to make a decision. So giving that courtesy and giving that time for them. One of the other things I know we also cut off was how to provide services and the compliance and billing and Medicaid and all that great stuff. But we can always implement the things that we find out from palm interviews into the goals that person are actually working on. So we as organization can also build for them, but person is still interested in what they're doing on a day-to-day life. So if somebody's goal, for example, is reading and writing, you can always find out what is it that they want to learn about, and then implement it and find something to read and write about what they like. Sometimes, very often we get a question how to conduct an interview with somebody who does not use words to communicate. And you can always read the body language. People have, most of our information that we get from somebody is through body language, not like what they're saying. We also use special tools developed by CQLs with photos and pictures. Sometimes people use communication devices, and those are also really helpful. I like the next video as well a lot because it really shows how celebrating personal goals or personal...
It's not working really well.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the person in the next video is really proud of her achievements, how she was able to sell her embroidery that she was working on for a really long time. And that's something that we all can do just to celebrate achievements, everyday achievements. All right, so as I said, we are providing 2 and 4-day trainings, and only after completing the 4-day training, you become a palm interviewer, and you're required to do 6 interviews a year that will go into palm letters, and palm letters will go into life plans. And our goal as an organization to create as many people who will do good quality palm interviews. So the more people will be heard and life plan will change. And now we're going into one of the other ways HRC is trying to continue becoming more person-centered. It's our new person-centered apprentice program, and it was developed as a new initiative, and any staff any staff in HRC, not senior leadership, but one of the staff who already established themselves in the agency can apply. And it's one of the ways that we improve the quality of life for people supported and also create new opportunities for the staff. So what we call these is the 3 wins, and so they create opportunities for the staff to grow professionally, to work on their skills, to learn their strengths and their weaknesses, to network within the agencies and to see how other departments work, so they wouldn't only work within their department, but make connections with others. They also create more opportunities for the staff to grow within the company. Also, our apprentices are supposed to go through 4-day palm training, so they become very good palm interviewers. Since they're already interested in growth and in development, they're produce basically better conversations. And also it's great for the people supported because it creates more options for them and for education, to try something new, to make new friends. So the expectations for our apprentices were that they're going to do 4 palm interviews a year, and they would complete 100 hours on leading a person-centered initiative. So they would come up with what is it that they like, what is it that they're passionate about, and then complete 100 hours working with people supported. And then at the end of their journey, they would present on their any person-centered topic. Most of them picked their own initiative because it was close to heart. And it would be outside of the HRC, just like we're here right now. The range of our apprentices are very wide. So we have 2 theater groups. One of them was playback theater, and I didn't know what it was, but apparently it's when you tell a person that stands on stage what is your idea, what is your situation, and they act it out back to you. So you get to see your own situation from a different perspective. We also have a therapeutic acting workshop, so there's a lot of singing going on there and a lot of theater work. We have a cooking and healthy eating initiative. So one of our apprentices partnered up with the residents, and they were able to find people who are interested in cooking and healthy cooking from scratch. So they would go out to a farmer's market and pick what was in season and how to eat it and how to cook it and how much nutrition it brings, what are the better healthy eating choices they would get. We also have exercising your rights group. So a group would meet weekly, and they would discuss a different right that they have every week and educate them on their own rights. We have health and fitness, so it would do with yoga and exercising, so anybody who would be interested would be more than welcome to join. We had artist workspace initiative where people would work on pottery and creating their own artwork. And we had something that called Reinventing Job Club, or to assist people with creating resumes and applying for jobs, looking for employment. So the structure of the program is that the staff who are interested to become an apprentice would go through an interview process. Then they would have to submit references, of course get okay from their supervisor for that. They would sign a contract, so they would be obligated to complete these 100 hours. They would have their 45-day review, 60-day reviews. They would have to complete their monthly log sheets on their hours, and they would help them reflect on how the program is going, whether there have to be made any changes, or maybe their program will become something else in the process. They were assigned and tracked with their palm interviews, making sure that the initiative is meaningful and creates meaningful experience for people supported, that it's not just they're meeting once a month and nobody really knows what they're doing. They're learning and sharing opportunities together, so throughout the year we had all the apprentices meet up, and they got to exchange their ideas and their struggles and see how they can work on their problem-solving skills and see maybe how one of them solved the problem would apply to another. So the whole networking is really got them closer together. And of course providing feedback to us on how we can run it better next year. So some of the challenges that we ran into is because people came from all different positions, all different experience with different sets of skills. So they would kind of have to figure it out as they went and use their problem-solving skills. They would try, I know that sometimes they came in with great ideas. They had these huge, grandiose plans and they were wonderful. But then figuring out how to actually break it down into smaller steps, how to organize everything. They've never done this before, so this was a great way for them to learn. Logistics probably was something that all of you guys run into all the time. little details on how people get into the initiative, how they're getting from, how they're coming back, are there any restrictions, are there any things we need to think about. Liability was a huge thing throughout the whole year. But they also learn how to work around schedule, how to plan in advance, and how to prepare for things that come up last minute and unexpectedly. So one of the gains and benefits that we had are a lot of sharing and learning opportunities, a lot of developing new skills for our apprenticeship. They were learning what their strengths and what their weaknesses were and what they need to work on. They also got to add a title to their resume, and they did it because the apprenticeship only lasts 12 months, from 12 to 15. And they also got a little stipend at the end of the apprenticeship, which is really encouraging when you're already doing something that you love, but then you're also getting rewarded for it. I think that's great. So what do we go from here moving forward? So the apprentices who completed all the requirements successfully may be offered an opportunity to become a person-centered fellow. And it would kind of move them up a notch a little bit in the apprentice program. They would still continue to do pop interviews, and they would get more leadership opportunities, so they would also mentor the next cohort of our apprentices for the next year. And this time they only completed 50 hours an hour, not just 100. So if you have any questions, or you can either check out the CQL website or email any of the members of the QI department. I'm also right there. So if you have any. All right, so and I'm going to introduce Esteban, and he was one of our apprentices, and he was running a health and fitness club.
Hi everyone. So in the beginning of last year, I was tasked with creating an initiative that had to be built around the idea of being person-centered. AHRC has always been a program based on the ideology that we as a society can do more for the people we serve. Being person-centered would mean that it would be best to have picked a goal parallel to the mission statements of this program. With this in mind, I chose to gear my initiative around fitness. Fitness is a great way to improve quality of life because it simultaneously supports independence as well as enhances dignity. With most of the people that we support living in group homes, I decided that residentials were going to be where I started. Residential homes are equipped with staff that can give them 24-hour care. However, understanding of the hardships of planning and caregiving, my initiative aimed to alleviate those very stress and struggles that occur in those 7 days. So right now, I'm going to do what we call a superhero pose. So my initiative was more than just fitness. It was based around like yoga and meditation. And one of the poses I found to really work is the superhero pose. So everyone knows Superman, and you know that he does this, right? So studies show that if you stand like this for about 2 minutes every day, it boosts confidence. If you guys want to join in on the affirmation phrases, you can. You just have to repeat after me. Alright? So first, I'm ready. Take a deep breath in. Oh, you don't have to stand, you just sitting. Alright, ready? So everyone take a deep breath in. And a deep breath out. Deep breath in. And a deep breath out. So repeat after me behind every word. I am here. I am awake. I am royalty. I have knowledge. I have courage. Last, I have time. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Guys feel better? Yes. you guys can have a seat. So on Sundays, I go to residential homes on Staten Island, where I encourage the people there to participate in activities that I was pre-authorized to conduct. Yoga was one of the activities that stuck to the weekly agenda. I offered them various things, hikes, gyms. Yoga seemed to be like that middle ground where it wasn't too physical, but it had the mental relaxation quality. When it comes to quality of life, I learned that one key aspect is the power of choice. People should be allowed to choose how their day goes without others dictating or interfering. Providing people multiple choices opens up to options that they probably did not even realize were there to begin with. Although my initiative was slated to have a duration of 12 to 5 months, I've chosen to accept the partnership and the fellowship, so I will be continuing the extra 50 hours, mentoring other apprentices and stuff like that. Without the benefits of yoga, so it's the awareness of breathing itself. Breathing is a great coping technique for anyone. People can be taught how to manage breathing, posing their bodies in such a way to self-calm and balance emotions that we all just have. You develop motor skills and coordination. It improves confidence and self-esteem. As well as sensory integration. The dim lights, sometimes I put on soft music. The yoga mats and quiet instructions is comforting. And the low stimulating environment is very calming. Other benefits include decreased anxiety, increased relaxation, blood circulation, and improved sleep. Feedback. I've heard people tell me they like feeling relaxed for the week. At the end of every session, we go through each day. So I'll ask them, what are you guys doing Monday? And then we'll go over, take a deep breath, Tuesday all the way to Saturday till we come back again on Sundays. That lets me feel calm, and they love yoga. So what I've yet to do is create a solid network for others to utilize and benefit from to promote positive well-being. I want to start an outreach to other resources. AHRC is one of many agencies that share the same values, so why not ask for help from the many others here in this room? With combined resources, combined resources and efforts, we can empower residents to ask for more. Together as a community, we can help progress the quality of life so that more can always be an option. So at the end of this committee, if anyone has any suggestions for me, if anyone wants to join in on the session, I'll leave my email, phone number, and stuff like that. And thank you all for listening to me today.
Thank you so much. Great. Thank you, Julia, Esteban. Does anybody have any questions? And you, Sandra, you said that...
if anyone's interested in any of the on the slides is the contact information, we can email Lisa. Chris. Senior moment, I'm sorry. I could email Chris the PowerPoints and she can distribute it to the distribution list. So if you do want to get in touch with Esteban or any of us appointed persons in the program or any other aspect of CQL bonds, we'd be happy to talk to you.
Thank you so much. Any old business? New business? Iris, then Diane.
So as I mentioned before, I was a parent to your campaign, special education parent center for Staten Island. We have our February and March flyers in the back. We also have a freestanding flyer, and I just want to mention what our March workshop will be. We also have support groups. We have had some parents inquire about the subject of sexuality within our special needs community. And we did find someone who is somewhat of an expert in the field, a PhD. He's spoken at the transition fair for the council and has agreed to do this on March 12th from 10 to 12 at IVR. There is a flyer in the back. Please come join us. I know it's a hard topic to deal with as parents and professionals, but very necessary. So join us. Thank you.
Diane?
Tuesday
things. First, morning. Good morning first. The other thing is rumors of Jen Benoit and my retirement are greatly exaggerated. At first when I read it, it was Meals on Wheels is nicely honored Jen Benoit in March, and they put in there that the recently retired Jen Benoit back in the building. When I first read it, I was very happy. But it's not true. It's an example of Staten Island fake news. It's a caravan of fake news. It's not true. So it's not true. And it's sending out another statement about it. So thank you, Mark, today for letting us know about it first. And so they're going to send out a statement about it. It's just not accurate. But thank you, those people got a lot of calls from people saying congratulations. So the other thing is that the Willowbrook Mile, the Willowbrook Property Planning Committee is on the last Tuesday of the month, which is February 26th. So it's not next Tuesday, it's the following Tuesday. And it's working, it's moving along very nicely. We just had a meeting with the professor who was there, and came up with some really great ideas about the accessibility of the mile. We're really pleased with it. I know I've said this to you 1,000 times so far over the last 12 years, but it does look like the opening will be sometime in the fall. So we're really excited about that. And that's it. Thank you very much.
I just wanted to bring your attention to a flyer that we have here at the back table. It's a painting party. It's going to be held on Friday, March 15th. It's going to be held at the Cora Hoffman Center, and it's from 5:30 to 8:30. It's going to support the MOVE program. The MOVE program stands for Mobility Opportunity Via Education. It focuses on non-ambulatory consumers. And so we're going to have food, raffles, wine especially, and on display. We will have some pieces of equipment so that people can see what the program will be purchasing for the consumers. So we hope that you get to join us. It'll be a lot of fun. This is the painting. You're going to be painting. The price, which is $60, does include the food and all of the particulars that you need to paint. And this is what the painting looks like before the wine. I'm not quite sure what it's going to look like after the wine, but this is it.
Okay, we have a small group meeting right after this meeting in this room to talk about it's 50 years that this council has existed. So those of you who signed up to meet, we're meeting right here. We are adjourned.